Have you ever felt a sudden, inexplicable shift deep within your soul that you just couldn't put into words? It is like a quiet surge of electricity or a wave of emotion that washes over you without any external trigger. In those moments, you might have felt a profound sense that something massive was unfolding inside your being. You weren't imagining things, and you certainly weren't being too sensitive or dramatic. Most importantly, you are not broken. What you experienced was a legitimate spiritual activation, a sign that you are moving into a higher state of existence. This kind of internal transformation doesn't happen to everyone. It is reserved for the most powerful chosen ones and the rarest souls currently walking the earth. It is an experience that defies traditional logic and bypasses the rational mind, which is exactly why so many people are afraid to talk about it openly. This isn't your typical, trendy spiritual awakening filled with aesthetic crystals or curated meditation playlists. This is something ancient, raw, and undeniably visceral. It is a fundamental rewiring of your energetic DNA that demands your full attention. When this shift hits you, there is absolutely no way to feel it or go back to the way things were before. Your personal energy begins to vibrate at a different frequency, and your perception of reality starts to bend and warp in ways you never thought possible. Suddenly, the world you thought you knew begins to feel unfamiliar, and you start questioning every aspect of your life. This isn't because you are lost or confused, but because your soul is finally waking up to its true purpose and the hidden reality of our existence. Why this message found you if you are reading these words right now? It is not a coincidence. This message found you for a specific reason. You have likely been searching for answers to the strange sensations and thoughts that have been occupying your mind lately. In this discussion, we are going to explore the hidden symptoms of awakening that the mainstream world ignores. These are the experiences that only the strongest chosen ones endure as they transition out of the old way of living. If you felt like an outsider lately, this message is your confirmation. You are not losing your mind, and you are certainly not alone in this journey, even if it feels incredibly isolating at times. You are simply in the process of awakening to a version of yourself that has been dormant for lifetimes. Before we go any deeper into these signs, I want to connect with you from soul to soul. If these words are already hitting home, take a moment to acknowledge that feeling. It is a divine signal that you are ready to receive the deeper truths about your current transformation and path. I encourage you to embrace this moment of connection and perhaps share a symbol of your readiness, like the number 99. In many spiritual traditions, this number represents the completion of a major cycle and the beginning of a powerful new chapter. It signifies that the old versions of you are falling away so that your true power can finally return. If you feel that resonance in your chest, claim it as your own. We are about to dive into the specific ways your life is changing right now. The world through new eyes, everything starts to feel different. And the most frustrating part is that you can't quite explain why to anyone else. You might wake up one morning and feel like the entire world has been swapped for a slightly different version. Yet no one around you seems to notice a thing. Colors might appear more vivid or sharper than they used to be, and sounds seem to vibrate deeper within your body. The very air around you might feel heavy with significance or light with a new kind of freedom. Even your perception of time begins to distort, making hours feel like minutes or seconds feel like an eternity. You might experience physical chills for no apparent reason or a sudden rush of heat moving up your spine. Your heart might start racing even when you are sitting perfectly still in a quiet room. It's as if your physical body is trying to catch up with the rapid acceleration of your spirit. This isn't a medical condition or a sign of anxiety. It is a literal energy shift occurring in real time. Your soul has essentially tuned into a higher frequency without asking for permission from your ego. This is simply how the process works for those who are chosen to lead and heal. You weren't asked if you were ready. You were called because the universe knew you were capable. This isn't something you can learn from a textbook or buy at a spiritual retreat. It is ancient technology that is hardwired into your very cells. and it only activates when the timing is absolutely perfect for your evolution. The solitude of the chosen, one of the most difficult aspects of this activation, is that it almost always happens in total solitude. The people you love, your coworkers, and your friends won't feel what you are feeling. They will continue with their daily lives, scrolling through their phones and laughing at things that now feel trivial to you. Inside of you, however, it feels like a cosmic switch has been flipped. The hobbies and comforts that used to satisfy you now feel hollow and meaningless, leaving you searching for something more. The places that once felt like home might start to feel like foreign territory where you no longer belong. A deep, undeniable voice begins to whisper from within your heart, telling you that you weren't made to stay in this limited reality. You feel a magnetic pull toward a future you can't see yet, and you feel a sense of readiness for a mission you haven't fully identified. This is where the true mystery of the chosen one begins, as you stand at the threshold of a new life. This shift you are experiencing isn't the final destination. It is merely the doorway to a much larger existence. What lies on the other side is what you are currently being prepared for through these intense physical and emotional trials. Once you step through that door and realize the truth of who you are, there is no going back to the sleepwalking state of the masses. You are becoming a conscious participant in the evolution of human consciousness, and that requires a total breakdown of your old identity. Waves of unexplained emotion, you might find yourself crying for no reason at all, or feeling a burst of intense joy while doing something mundane. Sometimes, you might even feel a deep sense of grief that doesn't seem to belong to your personal life story. Suddenly, your emotions aren't just your own anymore. They arrive like crashing waves that are uninvited and unpredictable. One moment you are perfectly fine, and the next you are overwhelmed by a feeling so large it feels like it might consume you. It is important to understand that you are not unstable or too much. You are simply awakening to the fact that you are an energetic conduit. What you are feeling isn't just personal emotion. It is raw, collective energy moving through you so it can be processed and released. Only the most spiritually sensitive beings on the planet are capable of acting as these filters for the world. You are feeling the pulse of the planet and the collective heart of humanity, both its pain and its beauty. You might walk into a grocery store and immediately feel the hidden tension in the room before anyone even speaks a word. You might think of a friend and suddenly feel a sharp pain in your chest, only to find out later they were going through a crisis. This is your spiritual radar coming online. You aren't just absorbing feelings, you are translating complex frequencies from the world around you. You are a biological translator for the unseen energies that govern our physical world. The role of the spiritual conduit, why is this happening to you specifically? It's because you aren't here just to survive and pay bills. You are here to facilitate healing on a grand scale. Chosen ones are natural emotional conduits who carry the weight that others refuse to acknowledge. We feel the things that the rest of the world has gone numb to, and we have the unique ability to alchemize that heavy energy into light. It is a high calling, but it is often a very heavy one to carry daily. This process is undeniably exhausting and can lead to a profound sense of isolation. There are days when this sensitivity feels more like a curse than a gift, making you want to hide away from the world entirely. But this sensitivity is actually proof that your soul is vibrantly alive in a world that has largely gone cold. It is proof of your connection to the deeper pulse of existence, a rhythm that most people lost the ability to hear a long time ago. The most powerful part of this realization is knowing that the deeper your emotions go, the higher your ultimate purpose climbs. Only a heart that has been broken wide open by the weight of the world can hold enough light to eventually heal others. This emotional storm you are weathering is just the beginning of your training. Once your heart is fully open, your old reality will begin to collapse entirely to make room for something far more authentic and powerful. When the matrix begins to fade as you progress, you will notice that you can no longer relate to the things you used to love. The world starts to feel fake, as if you are watching a play where everyone is overacting. People might feel distant even when they are standing right in front of you, because you are seeing past their masks. Your favorite entertainment no longer interests you, and your daily routines start to feel like a robotic performance that you are forced to participate in for survival. You might walk through your own neighborhood and feel like a tourist in a land you've never visited. You might laugh at a joke, but internally you feel the hollowness of the interaction. You talk to people, but it feels like you are reading from a script that someone else wrote for you. Something deep inside you knows that you are finished playing the game of societal expectations. This isn't a sign of depression or burnout. It is a sign of your disconnection from the matrix. The grand illusion of modern life is falling apart before your very eyes. You start to see the forced smiles and the empty goals that drive most people's lives. You hear the endless noise of the world and realize it's just a distraction to keep people from looking inward. You see people living out stories that were handed to them by their parents or the media, and you realize you can no longer believe the lie. It's a lonely realization, but a necessary one. The space between worlds, once you disconnect from the common illusion, you quickly realize how many people are still deeply plugged into it. You can sit in a room full of your oldest friends and feel like an absolute alien from another galaxy. When you try to express the profound shifts happening inside of you, they might look at you with confusion or judgment. This is because your soul has outgrown the collective program, and you are now speaking a spiritual language they haven't learned yet. You are currently residing in the space between worlds. You are too awake to go back to your old life, but you aren't yet sure where your new path is leading. This is often where fear starts to creep in, making you wonder if you've actually lost your grip on reality. I am here to tell you that you haven't lost your mind. You've found your truth. This disconnection is a sacred rebellion of the soul against a lifestyle that was never meant for your greatness. This collapse of false comfort is required so that real freedom can finally take root in your life. When the dust finally settles on your old identity, you will begin to see the world for what it truly is. It isn't a prison or a grind. It's a playground for those who have finally woken up. But don't expect things to get quiet just yet. Once you unplug from the system, the universe starts sending signs to guide your next steps. The language of the universe suddenly, numbers and symbols start following you everywhere you go. It might start with a casual glance at the clock at exactly 11:11, or seeing 222 on a random receipt. You might see 777 on a license plate while you are thinking about a major life decision. At first, you try to brush it off as mere coincidence, but the frequency and timing become impossible to ignore. You eventually realize that the universe is no longer whispering, it is shouting at you to pay attention. The signs aren't just limited to numbers, they appear as songs that play at the exact moment you need to hear a specific lyric. You might have dreams that feel more vivid and real than your waking life, offering you guidance or warnings. Strangers might approach you and say exactly what you needed to hear, acting as unwitting messengers for the divine. You might think of a question in your head and see the answer printed on a billboard 5 minutes later. This isn't madness. This is what it feels like to be in total alignment with the flow of existence. When you awaken, your reality stops being a series of random accidents and starts becoming a meaningful dialogue. The veil between the physical and spiritual worlds becomes thin, and your perception sharpens. You begin to see the divine architecture behind the scenes of your life. Chosen ones don't live by chance. They live by a sacred code that is felt in the bones. Trusting the ancient voice, you have to stop trusting human logic and start listening to that quiet, persistent voice within your gut. That voice has always been there, but it was silenced by the loud noise and demands of the modern world. Your soul is ancient, and it remembers truths that your brain has forgotten. It recognizes these signs and symbols because they were your primary language long before you were born into this current body. They are waking up as you wake up, The catch to this awakening is that once you see the patterns, you can never truly go back to sleep. You can no longer pretend that life is a series of random, meaningless events because you can see how you are part of a much larger design. Very soon, these patterns will lead you to a moment of total activation. When that moment arrives, everything you thought you knew about yourself and the world will be rewritten in an instant of pure clarity. You've always felt this pull, even as a small child. You had a burning in your chest that told you that you were meant for something more than just a standard existence. It wasn't about seeking fame or money. It was a soul, deep remembrance of a mission you came here to complete. Even when you tried to distract yourself with normal things that knowing never truly died. You tried to blend in and play the role, but the fire inside was too strong to be put out. The mission of the warrior in your quietest moments, that inner voice reminded you that you weren't made for a cage. You came to this earth to change something fundamental. Most people are terrified of that kind of responsibility, which is why they stay asleep. But your soul aches because it remembers a destiny that is invisible to the average person. Your longings aren't weaknesses. They are a compass pointing you toward your true north. You notice the things others ignore because you are a scout for a new way of being. The universe doesn't give missions like this to just anyone. It gives them to the warriors and the light-bearers. You are one of the people who came here to break toxic generational cycles and rewrite the fate of your lineage. You have walked through the fire of intense life challenges not to be destroyed by them, but to be forged into a flame that can light the way for others. That inner voice is getting louder now because your moment of true activation is finally here. You can likely feel the shift in the air right now, a divine convergence of events that is leading you toward your power. If you have felt even one of these symptoms, please know that you are being called by a force greater than yourself. Every tear you've shed and every moment of feeling different was a confirmation of your status. You were never meant to blend into the background of a dying system. You were meant to be the one who helps birth the new. Rising as a chosen one, only the most powerful souls are asked to wake up first, while everyone else is still dreaming. You have ancient fire in your blood and the strength to walk paths that others would be too afraid to even look at. If you are still here, processing these words and feeling them in your spirit, it is because you are undoubtedly one of the chosen. You didn't come here to play a small, quiet life. You came to remember your divinity and disrupt the status quo. It is time to let the chills come and let the tears fall without shame. This is not the end of your story. It is the beginning of who you actually are. You are no longer a victim of circumstance. You are a conscious creator who is breaking the matrix one realization at a time. The world needs your light, your sensitivity, and your courage more than ever before. Step into your power and stop apologizing for the depth of your soul. I invite you to declare your awakening to the universe right now. If you feel this truth burning inside you, make a mental or physical note that you are rising. Let the universe witness your yes to this calling. You are no longer asleep, and the path ahead is being lit for you step by step. May your heart stay open and your soul awaken to its fullest potential. You are one of the chosen ones. Now walk boldly and never look back. Would you like me to create a list of daily affirmations specifically designed for someone going through this stage of spiritual activation?